Hey everyone, welcome to our final Family Ministry Friday video. Thank you so much for joining us over these last couple of weeks. I've had fun. I hope you've enjoyed them, and I hope they've been helpful. So I just got a short devotional that I want to share with you guys today on a verse that's really been powerful for me over these last couple of weeks from Micah 6:6-8. And I don't know about you, or if this is an argument or a discussion that your family has frequently, but one of the most common discussions or arguments that Chelsea and I have is, what do you want for dinner, or where should we go out to eat, right? There's so many options, there's so many choices, and that decision gets really, really difficult. And if you guys have spent any time with me or Chelsea, you've realized that we are both horrible decision makers. So this discussion sometimes goes on for a very, very long time until she kind of gets hangry enough and finally forces me to make the decision. For my birthday this year, she actually gave me some coupons. I don't know if you guys have ever done that kind of as a gift, but I can redeem these coupons, and they force her to make the decision for dinner on some evenings. It's like one of the best gifts she's ever given me. I'm just kidding, but it was a good one. Now, I don't know if that's a reality in your household, but I think we can all agree that many times decisions in life are difficult. Sometimes it feels like there's no right choice, or sometimes it feels like there are just too many right choices and we don't know what to do because we have FOMO, or that fear of missing out, that if we choose one thing, then we won't be able to do the other. And sometimes all of those decisions or options have the ability to paralyze us or keep us from moving forward or making a decision about what to do. Our world, our culture has really found a way to make life really complicated, and the right decision is not always obvious. Whether that decision has to do with relationships, school, friendships, what to do on the weekend, where to go on vacation, whatever it is. Some are big, some are really small. But I think the reality is that in all of those decisions, some of the very big ones, like, we are looking at God and just saying, please point me the right way. Give me a clear sign. Tell me what I'm supposed to do. God, I want to follow you, but I need that direction. With as many choices that we face today, I think it can feel really impossible to know which one is right for us or what we're supposed to do, especially at a time right now. Like, we're about to have to make a ton of decisions that we never thought we would have ever had to make. And I've really struggled over the last few months with everything going on. Everything's been flipped upside down. My whole kind of life has changed. And I'm like, God, what am I supposed to do in this moment? It's all different. I didn't have a plan for this. What's your vision? I'm lost. I'm confused. I don't really know what to do. And a passage that's been helpful for me these last few months now is Micah 6:6-8. And it says this: with what shall I come before the Lord and bow down before the exalted God? Shall I come before God with burnt offerings, with calves a year old? Will the Lord be pleased with thousands of rams, with 10,000 rivers of olive oil? Shall I offer my child for my transgression, the fruit of my body for the sin of my soul? God has shown you, O mortal, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? To act justly, to love kindness, and to walk humbly with your God. Now, that's a pretty well-known Bible passage. You've probably seen it on 1,000 of signs at Hobby Lobby, or maybe you have it hung up in your house. But it's often used to kind of help remind people of God's dream or vision for their lives. They're trying to think of so many things that they're supposed to do, and then Micah quickly reminds them that it's simple. It's just these three things: love kindness, walk humbly, and fight for justice. I think one of the aspects that we often question as humans is, what is our purpose for our life? What is my calling, God? And I think sometimes we often overthink it, and we look for the answer to that question in all of the wrong places. But the answer to that question can only be found when we recognize that our one true calling in our lives is to be part of God's dream for the world. Our calling, our purpose is to live as God's agents of justice, compassion, and love. Though no matter what we're doing, what the exact details, what the exact decisions we make, as long as we live by those three things, justice, loving kindness, and humility, then we are living fully into God's calling for our lives. The prophet Micah in this passage was reminding his people of this high calling to service. You see, they had forgotten about God's vision for the world and their calling to be a blessing to other nations. The followers of God at that time that Micah's talking to had overthought everything. They had turned being followers of God into a series of decisions, rules, things to do, rituals, and their hearts were very far from God's true calling. And Micah's simply trying to remind them that God's vision and purpose for our lives is not one of a perfection or rules or rituals, but God is after our hearts. He wants a relationship with us. And all that he desires from us is for us to fight for justice, to love kindness, and to walk humbly with him. I think we all put so much pressure on ourselves to be perfect. I think there are more perfectionists today than there ever have been in the world. And I don't think that's necessarily a horrible thing. But could life really be that simple? All God asks is for our heart. And what would happen if those three actions were the lens that we looked at every decision through? If you're facing a choice today that's kept you frozen in indecision, I hope God's word encourages you. Maybe it really can be that simple. Act justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with God. Jesus came to earth to show us who God is, to teach us how to walk, and to call us into action and participate in God's dream for the world. There's so much brokenness in our world right now. And it can no longer be a difficult decision for us to fight for justice. I pray for George Floyd's family. I pray for equality. I pray for justice. I pray for peace. And that starts with us putting our faith into action. It can no longer be something that we just post on social media or say. We need to stand up. We need to fight against the evil in this world. And we have to live into who God called us to be. Our purpose, our call for our lives is not something we have to overthink. We just have to live our lives for justice, to love kindness, and to walk humbly. I want to leave you with one quote this evening, this afternoon, morning, wherever you're watching this. And it's in this book called God Has a Dream. And it was written by Desmond Tutu. And he writes this. And I hope we take these words to heart and we follow them each day from here. You are an indispensable agent of change. You should not be daunted by the magnitude of the task before you. Your contribution can inspire others, embolden others who are timid to stand up for the truth in the midst of a welter of distortion, propaganda, and deceit. Stand up for human rights where those are being violated with impunity. Stand up for justice, freedom, and love where they are trampled underfoot by injustice, oppression, hatred, and harsh cruelty. Stand up for human dignity and decency at times when these are in desperate short supply. God calls us to be partners to work for a new kind of society where all people count, where all people matter more than things, more than possessions, where human life is not just respected, but positively revered, where people will be secure and not suffer from the fear of hunger, from ignorance, from disease, and where there will be more gentleness, more caring, more sharing, more compassion, more laughter, and where there is peace and not war. Amen. So thank you so much for joining us for this final Family Ministry Friday. I'll miss you all. I can't wait to see you again. We love you, and we hope you have a great weekend. And I just encourage you to take those three things from this verse this weekend as a family and try to find 3 ways that you can simply love kindness, you can walk humbly with God, and you can fight for justice. See you, everybody. Hope you have a great weekend.